Hello everyone. Welcome. We are going to wait a few minutes for more people to attend.
Would love to hear where you're at in the chat if you want to chime in where you're joining from. Love to just get a feel for where people are joining us from.
Maybe you should start, Justin. Where are you
Salt Lake
joining?
City. Yep. Thanks,
Okay.
Natalie. Natalie's from Utah. All right.
Oh,
Me too. Egypt, Robert. Thank you.
South
Mhm.
Africa. Yay. I'm joining from Romania. If you heard about Dracula.
South Africa, such a beautiful place. Romania.
Râmnicu Vâlcea is also in Romania.
Okay, thank you. I was like, I don't know that one.
Nice. Okay. Well, I think we're good to start. Um, as I said, welcome. We are excited to have you here with us. I will start sharing my screen and just can you see it? Okay, perfect. So today um, we will talk about the challenge that many marketing and creative teams are facing, and this is how to scale multilingual content in a fast way, but also without losing brand consistency. So we'll discuss about where AI helps, where it falls short, and how Mark and Blend can work together to streamline the global content. My name is Adria Cângașu. I work at Blend as a professional services lead, and I'll be hosting today's session together with our partners from Mark, Justin Warner, the account executive, and Morgan Cutter, he's the product manager. We'll move to see the agenda, and we thought to have it more practical. We want to show you how it actually works operationally for global content teams. And by the end of the session, you'll see how teams can scale multilingual content without losing brand consistency, how AI and human expertise can work together effectively, and how to reduce manual production work and workflow friction. And finally, we will show you live an example directly inside Mark. So let's take a very common scenario. If you work in a marketing department, let's say you're preparing a campaign launch. Everything is approved. It's the launch date is already locked, but suddenly, I don't know, the campaign becomes into five more languages, and you have extra little time. But at the same time, the marketing teams are being asked to do more than ever to create faster, move forward, personalize campaigns, and also maintain the consistent brand everywhere. So, from what we're standing, the challenge is not creating content anymore. It's managing scale without losing quality and brand consistency. And even with great tools in place, the workflow often becomes fragmentized the moment localization starts. Um, Even today, you need to export content from the design platform, send files manually for translation in some cases, manually reinsert the translation copy, and spend time fixing layout, spacing, or formatting issues. They don't seem dramatic individually, but together they create delays, manual work, increased brand risk, and maintaining the brand consistency becomes harder. This is usually the point where quality starts slipping. And even if the translation itself are technically correct, the tone may not longer sound like your brand. The messaging become inconsistent across regions, and the translated text often doesn't fit naturally into the original design. And now with AI, the production is accelerating even faster. However, when everyone uses the same generic model prompt, the content starts sounding the same. So the risk isn't just bad translation anymore, it's losing the unique brand voice across markets. And next, we will see a real example of how costly this can become. This is one of the most well-known examples in global marketing and localization. HSBC launched a global campaign with the slogan, "Assume Nothing," but in several markets, the message was translated closely to "do nothing," which obviously created a very different meaning. And the issue became large enough that they invested around $10 million for a global rebranding effort afterwards. And this example happened even before the current explosion of generative AI. Today, the speed of content creation is much higher, which means mistakes, inconsistencies, and off-brand messaging can scale much faster too. And this doesn't mean that the AI is bad, because AI is an incredible tool that we need to use. But AI alone doesn't understand your brand, audience, the tone, and specific market nuance. So this is why we're having this session to answer to this question. How do you scale globally without losing control of your brand? And what does a better approach actually looks like? Um, this is where actually Blend and Marq complement each other. Marq helps teams scale on brand content creation, and Brand helps scale localization without losing quality or brand voice. And before we will show you the workflow itself, let's talk about something crucial in the AI area. It's how to prepare your brand for localization at scale. Because one of the biggest misconceptions today is that better AI automatically translate better multilingual content, but in reality, AI is only good as guidance and the brand context you provide. And because many companies are using the generic models, there is a real risk for content to start to sound the same across every market, and that is a major challenge. Your brand voice is one of the few things that the competitors cannot easily copy. And that's why the preparation becomes critical before scaling localization with AI. That's why we recommend to create a clear style guide. This was used also in the past before AI for our linguists to take a look and visualize and take into account. But this is critical for AI nowadays to explain how formal or conversationalist they should be, or how the messaging should adapt across different markets. Also, a glossary file is very good to have to ensure consistency for product names, industry terminology. Let's say you work in a very technical field, um, and to have an approved messaging. So the glossary file usually has the source and the target term translated. And finally, a do not translate list. This protects elements that should remain unchanged, such as brand names, taglines, strategic terminology, or even product names. The companies seeing the best results from AI today are not usually using better models. They are using better brand context. AI is already made the translation faster, more accessible, and easier to scale ever before. But it's a big difference between generating translated text and confidently publishing brand critical globally. And for internal or low visibility content, this risk can be manageable, but for customer facing campaigns, regulated industries, or high impact launches, quality and consistency becomes critical. And the goal is not AI versus humans. The goal is combining the speed and efficiency of AI with the judgments, nuance, and quality control of human experts. At Blend, we believe that the localization is hybrid, not fully manual and not fully automated. It's about combining AI for speed and scale with human expertise for quality, nuance, and brand alignment. The human layer is what protects your brand voice, the market relevance, the consistency, and trust across languages. Instead of asking marketing teams to evaluate models or manage prompts or oversee multilingual quality assurance internally, Blend manage that complexity for you. The goal is very simple. Help teams move faster globally without losing the brand integrity. And this is how it usually works. Once we receive the source content from you, we combine the LLM. We fine tune a model specifically for you um, based on your translation memory, the style guide, the glossary, tone of voice guidance, and also uh, it goes to a human post editing into a self-learning localization process. The LLM first generates a translation using a model specifically, as I said, updated for your brand and content requirements. But from there, we also run an LLM-based quality estimation process where another model evaluates the initial output for accuracy, fluency, terminology, tone, and brand alignment. And if the quality score indicates that improvements are needed, the system generates another version and runs additional quality assurance checks automatically. And then we involve a human expert linguist to step in to review the areas that require cultural nuance, brand judgments, or linguistic refinement. And at the same time, as I said, the feedback loops continuously improve future translation, helping the model to become more aligned with your brand voice over the time. Uh, as I said, Blend managed the end-to-end localization process from AI optimization to workflow orchestration to quality control, terminology management, and human review. This allows teams to benefit from the latest AI capabilities without retraining models, testing new tools, or managing multilingual QA internally. Also, as part of the Task AI ecosystems, we also leverage broader AI capabilities and human in the loop solution beyond localization, actually. So, apart from that, we also have services such as AI model validation and tuning, systemic and generative data validation, human in the loop quality evaluation, hallucination reduction, and output evaluation workflows. So if you need anything like that, contact us. This is how it works. It's one seamless workflow. Once you create a template in Mark, you can send it for translation. We will receive it. Uh, we will translate it as I explained you earlier, and then it will be ready to use in Mark, and we will show you later how it looks like. And for the next slides, Justin will take over.
Fantastic. Well, thank you all so much for joining us. We've had several people join since Adria has been sharing the part about Blend. Love to hear in the chat where you're joining us from. Always fun to see where people are joining us from. Again, my name is Justin Warner. I'm an enterprise account executive here at Mark, and I'm joined by Morgan Cotter, who is one of our head product leaders, and grateful for all the work that he has done to help us with these amazing integrations. When you think about what marketing teams have to face these days, it can be really difficult. We recognize that marketing teams are being asked to do more with less, and we see that all of the time. Budget constraints, um, things moving very quickly. So marketing teams are being asked to do more with less. And actually, AI, while we would think that it would make life a little bit easier, is complicating the problem. You see in a recent study, over 60% of enterprise marketing leaders view quality content as a top risk of AI. And that's because, unfortunately, people are not staying consistent with brand standards. They're creating things that do not fit and match with what they're trying to accomplish. So this is a real challenge with real issues, and Mark does everything we can to set this out and solve this problem. Audrey, if we can go to the next page. Today, there are lots of current solutions out there that some that offer, creative control and some that offer creative speed. When you think about kind of like a manual ad hoc system, something that I'm going to type in manually where I have full control of everything that's going out. I might be using the Creative Suite to produce something every single time. Those often can be very slow and tedious, create bottlenecks. Um, Many of us are familiar with backlog. A lot of that happens with manual ad hoc systems. You also have traditional asset portals that where you're able to really have a lot of governance around those, but not a lot of speed. It can be very minimal customization, maybe difficult to get the assets based on user permissions. So a lot of those challenges come from traditional asset portals. In today's world, we're seeing a lot of new products roll out, and a lot of those products are pretty quick and they can get things done very fast. But there's not a lot of control with those, not a lot of asset control, brand control, permissions, those types of things. And this really highlights where Mark and Blend together really hit on all cylinders: creative control and creative speed. When you think about what organizations have dealt with when it comes to both on-brand content, speed, and control, most marketing teams currently feel overburdened with a ton of requests. We talk about the backlog. We have sales teams that are wasting their time looking for content and even going rogue and creating their own content. And then because of that, your brand often ends up, somebody might use a logo from 4 or 5 years ago. Heaven forbid somebody's using Comic Sans font, or maybe they are using colors that shouldn't be used. But when they start to use Mark, what we see are empowered and confident marketing teams able to really focus on strategic initiatives rather than tending to a lot of rogue content. Sales teams are very happy because they're able to create and utilize content at the speed of sales. And your brand is strengthened by AI, not threatened by it. This is where we see scaling localized content on brand. Audrey, if you don't mind going to the next slide, scaling localized on brand content with speed and control. This is the objective of the Marq and Blend partnership. Now, I want to give you really quick a very high level introduction to the Marq platform. And then Morgan and I are going to jump in and we'll actually show you the platform live so you can see it. And then we would love to hear any questions that you have. As you maybe have some questions, feel free to put those in the chat and we'll get to them at the end so you don't forget. Or you can wait until the end to ask those questions. So, the Marq platform, from the perspective of the marketing and creative teams, allows your marketing teams to continue to design anywhere that they are designing, whether that's in the Creative Suite, Figma, um, Canva, Google, wherever you might be designing, you can design that. You can then import those designs directly into the Marq platform, where you can then begin to create templates. A template would be anything that you're using on a recurring basis. And those assets then can connect to different objects, different platforms, different communications, different data sets. So you'll see there the Blend logo mark can also connect to CRMs, API-driven connections, CSV type connections. We can also connect to those static asset management solutions where you can actually pull in your different assets directly into the platform. Once a template has been created and guardrails, think about this. A guardrail would be something that says you can modify this, but you can't modify that. You can add information here, but you can't add information there. You can build guardrails around those templates. Once those templates are in place, they actually shift out to the end users. End users are often sales teams, they're non creatives, human internal communication folks, even clients. So they might, if you do any co-branding or franchise model, often your end users might be those folks who can then access those templates and begin to have both dynamic personalization, guided editing, where appropriate, brand trained AI controls and automations. We also allow for you to have approval workflows built in that you can allow for someone to modify the content, but it has to go through an approval process before it can actually be distributed. And then lastly, once the content is in place, it's approved, it's ready to go, your end users can then distribute that in the way that they want, digitally, via social media, or via commercial or local print for those assets. So this is Marq at a very high level in how we operate our platform. What I'd like to do now is Morgan's going to share his screen and we're going to walk through the Marq platform a little bit just so that you can see this in live action and then what the integration with Blend and how that works. So the first part of the Marq platform that everyone gets really excited about and is really important is the template library. A template library is a repository for all of your brand collateral. That brand collateral can be anything from digital assets to social media assets, and as we talked about, even print assets. Those pieces of collateral inside your platform can actually be segmented for visibility based off of teams, departments, different companies and organizations. You're able to create different groups of people, and those groups will actually only see those templates that have been assigned to them. So, a great way to separate content so that when I, as an end user, log in, I'm only seeing the content that's relevant for my work experience and what I need to accomplish in my day to day. Another powerful aspect of the Marq platform is what we call brand assets. A brand asset is an area where I can come in and place my different logos, my colors, because this is a SaaS system, this is where I upload my fonts. I can create different text styles and even do branded QR codes. Mark has a full QR code generation and tracking system built right within inside of the platform. I can also control access of these brand kits, who has access to this, so that specific people or teams or groups can actually have visibility into this brand kit. So with brand kits, this is where the first level of automation actually takes place with inside of Mark. Your Mark templates can actually be mapped so that your different brands will automatically apply to the different brand kits. So if I wanted to, if I was logged in as a user, are we going to use Nova Health there, Morgan? If I was logged in as a user for Nova Health, then you will see that Nova Health, all of my those same templates are now in the Nova Health brand. That purple is completely different than the Mark brand, and this happens automatically simply by mapping the templates to the specific brands. So this is what a template library can do. This is what the brand kits can do. For our purposes today, we're going to focus on one template, and we're going to use an Instagram post template here that we want to show. So we're going to go ahead and open this template for us to be able to use. Now, inside of this template, we're not going to focus on a lot of the nuances that you can do with inside of Mark, but suffice it to say that you have the ability to, as we talked about, check brand alignment. That is an AI generated tool that will show how on brand you are. You have the ability to lock down certain areas. I can lock it down with a full red lock that means that I can't change it or move it or delete it. So design elements, logos, disclosure statements, whatever that might be, I can lock those down. I can also lock down partially, and that's where you're going to see a yellow lock. A yellow lock might be based off of your styling, your position, but would allow for some content changing to take place. Again, those would be conversations for a more in-depth, but for our purposes today, we want to just highlight those. And if you ever want to talk about that more in depth, we would be glad to do that. For purposes of translation, we set up the templates similar to what we do with the brand. We have to map different fields. And so in this case, you're going to notice that those gray brackets around around the text there. These are what we call project smart fields, or just smart fields to make this easy. And those smart fields on the left-hand side, you'll see one is called a headline and one is called a subheadline. Over on the right-hand side, we have the text for those headlines and subheadlines. Morgan, just take the text out of one of them just so you could see. If we didn't have the text in there, you would get the brackets that would identify what those particular headlines will be. For our purposes, to make sure that everyone knows and sees exactly what the template looks like, we put the text in there to make that super easy for people to be able to see. Those smart fields are critical in the translation process. So what we want to do now is we're going to take this exact template and we're going to move it over to our translation tool. Inside of our translation tool, we have the connection with the Blend translation service. The first step that we need to do is actually select the template. You'll see here that we've selected that Instagram post template. You can search for all of your templates in there. You can use those template IDs. You see that big long number right there. That's an ID that you can easily grab from a template and copy and paste to get your templates. So step one, we want to grab the template and use it. Then we're going to hit continue. And this is where we want to then have the information set up, where we have the headline in there and the subheadline. Now, this information can be manually entered. It can be entered in using AI. So if you need AI to help you write your content, or it can be brought in using some data set, using like a CSV file or some other integrations where I might be bringing data into those pieces of content. There are some advanced settings that you can use with this. We're not going to get into that for today's purposes, but there are a lot of other functionalities that you can do. For our purposes of today, we're keeping it pretty simple and straightforward for you to see this. Once the content is in there, what we want to have translated, we hit continue and move to the next. The next is where we get to select the languages. You'll see that there are a lot of different languages here that we can choose from. Those are also based on languages that you have in your Blend platform for translations. For today's purposes, we're going to choose two, Portuguese and Russian. Now, we do this because different characters, different styles, just so you can see what that looks like. So for simplicity's sake, we're going to choose those two templates, or excuse me, those two languages from Portuguese and Russian. Morgan's going to hit push and send that. Now you'll see that we have two templates with two languages, and we're now pushing that to Blend. Let me just take a quick drink here for a second while that refreshes. So now you'll see inside of your Blend platform, for those of you who are familiar with Blend, you'll recognize this screen. Inside of here, those languages have actually, that document has posted directly into the Blend platform with the English and the Russian requests that are there. They are now pending a linguist to come in and get them, and all of the magic of Blend then takes place here. Once the Blend team has completed the translation component of this, you actually will receive a notification on the Marq side that those languages are ready. And inside of Blend, you will see that those have been completed, and you will get a certification for each one of those languages that will show that this has been certified by a translator, and you can be confident that those translations have taken place with the localization that the Blend team offers. Once that's completed in the time frame that you're used to with Blend, obviously that changes a little bit based on the complexities of the document, but because of the blend of AI and localization, the efficiency with this is incredibly quick and efficient. Here you'll see that those languages are 100% ready, and we're ready to pull those completed translations. So when we hit pull those completed translations, and yes, for time's sake, we pulled from one we did just the other day, just for time's sake. But now you'll see that those translations are pulled, being brought in directly from the Blend platform with all of those languages ready to go. You can modify those in line. So if something doesn't feel right to you, you can actually modify that content directly in line if you feel so inclined to do so. Now you're going to hit done and hit ready. We're now ready to create these two projects inside of Marq. And what's happening right now is we're going to marry the data from Blend to the Marq templates, and we're going to create those Instagram posts in Portuguese and in Russian. You can go ahead and export those directly, but we want to view them right inside of the Marq platform for today's purposes. So we're going to view those in Marq, where you can then see the Marq platform, the Marq template in Russian and in Portuguese. And so those templates now are ready to go in those languages. And Morgan, do you mind just showing inside of the folder structure so that they can see inside of the Marq platform, the folder structure actually has where you can they'll populate those right inside of Marq with in a folder with those particular templates right there ready to go. So if I had 15 translations, those would all be there right inside of the platform with those all 15. In this case, the two are populated there. And yes, there are automations as well to do this for multiple brands, multiple brand kits. So if you had translations for multiple brand kits or multiple styles, this type of automation can happen very quickly in an automated platform, in an automated way. So we wanted you to be able to see how we take a template from Marq, connect it to Blend, use the speed and efficiency of Blend's AI and localized translation, and then bring those back together and marry those into on-brand templates with speed, with control, with efficiency, and with global effectiveness. So, with that, we thank you for joining. Audrey, I'm going to turn it back over to you.
Yeah, I just wanted to mention for everyone that joined today, we have a very special surprise for you. Um, and I'm sharing the screen right now where you can see a promotion that is ready for you uh, to use because for the connection to happen between Mark and Blend, you will need a Blend account. And when you will need to translate your content, you will need to have credits added to your account. And for that, you will need to first make a purchase. And in case you will use the code MARK10 uh, by the 1st of August, this will be available. You will get 10% off for any bulk purchases. As I said at the beginning, if you want to use AI model that is trained specifically for your content, you need to contact us in advance when you have the account ready. Share with us the style guide glossary, translation memory, anything that you have relevant, and we will start creating the model for you. And yeah, that's it. We are open for any question, and I think I saw one already in the.
Yeah, and Audrey, just maybe really quick, our contact information is here. We would love for you to reach out and chat with us if you want to have a more specific demo, want to see some of your content in action. You know, these are the types of things that we would love to do. Both Audria and myself, we would love to be able to connect with you and help you with that. Obviously, we're open for questions. We've got more time scheduled, and so if you have very specific questions, we would love to hear questions from you all.
From what I see, we have three questions. Uh,
Okay.
One is from Dana. What is the role of freelance translators and reviewers that play in the process? Where they can add the most value and how do they collaborate with the environment? I assume she's asking about the Mark environment. Uh, they will not have access to Mark itself. They will just receive the content from Mark itself, and they will be able to translate that. But the clients can also submit reference files, uh, PDFs with the design ready for context. That is very important for freelance translators to see before they jump into the translation.
Yeah, and Audrey, I will say that I have had clients that they don't necessarily give them out to the freelancers, but they have a dedicated person who reviews all of the translations so that they can move and expand. In fact, Morgan, Audrey, can we just share this really fast? Because this does happen. Morgan, can we just go to the Instagram template really quick? Sometimes the languages, the length of those is a little bit long. So sometimes we need to be able to modify the size of the box, or maybe shrink the font a little bit, or whatever that might be, just to make sure that everything fits inside of that. So, in part of that review process, whoever you give permission to make those adjustments, that would be one of those settings in the locks. So, Morgan, click on the lock again. You'll see that this is actually just the styling is the only thing that is locked, which allows for us to change the different aspects there. So thank you.
Excellent. I hope this answered your question, Dana. Another question is if there will be a recording to share with the team members, of course. We recorded this meeting and it will be shared with everyone that registered to this webinar. And we have some questions from Jordan. If the app is easy to connect and how long does it take to get everything synced up the first time?
Morgan, I know that you haven't spoken much. He's been the driving force behind all of this. Do you mind answering that question?
Yeah, I'd say all you need is your template and your project smart field as you saw in the demo. And that takes maybe like a couple minutes. And then once you have your blend credits and you connect through that process that I showed you, it really just takes just a couple minutes.
And the app setup, Morgan, to connect Blend and Mark initially is just an API code, or what, how does the code work there?
Yeah, you'll just grab your API key from Blend, and there'll be a place in Mark where you can put that API key, and we'll just connect directly from there. And it'll be in a matter of minutes.
Perfect. Thank you.
We will be happy to go through the entire process. If you have any questions, we are here anyway. Uh, we have more questions. Are there any languages that we cannot accommodate, or have you work with languages all over the globe?
So, Audrey, how about you take it first from your standpoint, and then we'll take it from our standpoint.
Well, at Blend, we translate in more than 100 languages. We can accommodate even different dialects for each language, so we don't have any restrictions on our side for sure.
Right. On the Mark side, we do have one limitation right now. And while we can make it work, it's not exactly how we want it to be. So it's an improving process. And that is on right to left languages. And so anything that needs to go read right to left, while we do have a way that it can work, it's not as perfect as we want it to be. And then with some of the Asian-based languages, we need to make sure that you use a font that is really good with Asian-based languages. Anoto Sans, for example, is a really good font. So from a design perspective, you need to make sure your fonts can utilize Asian-based characters, and so that usually helps out.
Okay, one more question, two actually. And we are happy to answer all your questions. What is the actual difference between ChatGPT, Gemini, or any model versus a brand trained LLM through Blend? So I will take this on. As we discussed, the generic models like ChatGPT or Gemini are designed for broad general purpose language generation. They can produce a fluent translation quickly, but they don't really understand your brand voice, terminology, the messaging that you want to transmit. So with Blend, the workflow is guided by your glossary, the style guide, the translation memory, the brand specific rules that you shared with us. We also do the LLM-based QA and the human expert review. So instead of having generic translation, you get content that stays consistent on brand and it's adapted to each market. Plus, and not least, the security and data ownership, um, because your content terminology and brand materials remain your intellectual property, and we don't use customer content to train public models or improve other clients' model.
Yeah, I think the verification by local individuals is really powerful, just like the HSCB model that or challenge that you talked about. And anyone who speaks a different language, you know there are words that are very similar in style that can mean completely different things. So I think that it's really important to have that local verification on that.
We have one more question from Evie. Can you have two independent translation, one after the other, to ensure quality? I assume this is for the linguist or for the client. I'm not sure uh, if we should answer this from the client perspective or for the linguist perspective to choose different versions of translation.
The
If
language,
it's
she's saying the language experts.
for the language experts,
Mhm.
then I would say that the linguists will see a generic, not the generic, the LLM-based translation that was designed for this client alone. But each linguist can determine if the quality is good or not and accept it and refresh it and change it in case it requires. Hope we answered your question.
Yeah, if that's not totally clear, Evie, please feel free to email us back in and we'll get that clear for you.
And also,
One.
we received one more question from Adam to your email. I assume he's mentioning the notifications. I'm not sure, quite sure.
Yeah, so
Maybe.
Morgan, I think what Adam's asking is when a the translation is due, does that notifies them in the app? Do they also get notified via email? I think is what Adam's asking.
Yes, you'll get an email from Blend that the translation is complete.
Perfect. And then inside the Mark app, you'll also have that saying that it's ready. You hit pull from Blend, and then you're ready to go. So, Adam, we're not going to swamp you with two different emails. The Blend email will be the one that will say your translations are ready. You then open back up the translation app, and you can then pull from there.
And I see Evie came back with clarification. He meant one asset translated independently by two different experts. So right now, we rely only on one human expert to do the translation efficient and on brand. Uh, and we don't want the clients to have, uh, to be bombarded with different versions because they will not know which version they should use. We rely on our linguists that are native in the target language and are certified that understand your brand terminology and can give a first version that it's perfect for you.
Awesome. Adam, I'm sorry, I misunderstood your email. Yes, we will send the recording of this to
Ah,
you'll be notified of the recording of this to your email. So sorry about the confusion, but it answered a great question how you would be notified when your documents are ready inside of Blend to send those over to Mark. All right.
perfect.
I think we've answered them all. Audrey.
Yeah. And we are a bit early. So thank you everyone for joining. Thank you, Justin and Morgan. You
Andrea,
were
will you put our contact information up just really fast again? We welcome any of you to reach out to us. We look forward to those connections. Glad to do a full-on demonstration. What you got from Blend and what you got from Mark is just a snippet of the power of what we can do, and we would love to be able to show you in specific what we can do. Take a picture of this, grab our emails, reach out to us, connect with us on LinkedIn, whatever that might be. We want the chance to be able to chat with you all. But thank you all so much, Morgan. Thank you, Audria. Thank you. This has been fantastic.
Thank you. Have a good day, everyone. Bye.